You're exhausted, not from life, from fighting yourself inside it. You've been told to let go, but nobody told you what happens to you when you actually do, because the truth Buddhism teaches is not what you expect, and it will quietly disturb you. Most people think letting go means becoming weak. Buddhism says the opposite. You become the most dangerous version of yourself because you stop needing outcomes to feel whole. Stoics called it freedom from fortune. Taoists called it effortless power. Buddha called it the stillness that nothing can touch, all of them describing the same shift, the one most people die never making. Today, 9 things that quietly change when you finally stop betraying yourself. Let go, not of life, of who you pretended to be, and don't skip to the end. Sign 9 is the one nobody talks about, because it asks something most people aren't ready to answer. Number 1, the invisible rope. What if nothing outside has ever been imprisoning you? What if the hand holding the rope has always been your own? This question feels uncomfortable because the mind believes control creates safety, but the quiet truth is different. You do not cling because life is difficult. You cling because your mind mistakes control for protection. Therefore, every fear you refuse to examine quietly becomes another invisible knot around your heart. The answer may change the way you see yourself, but stay with this thought a little longer. Most people believe attachment arrives through dramatic loss or painful relationships. But attachment is far quieter than that. It hides inside ordinary thoughts that feel completely reasonable. It whispers through expectations of tomorrow, memories that refuse to soften, plans that demand perfection, or imagine disasters that have never happened. You believe you are preparing for life, but your mind is often rehearsing suffering long before life arrives. The cage is strongest when its bars are invisible. If a single thought determines whether you can feel peace today, who is truly holding the key? Imagine an old fisherman standing beside a vast ocean. The sea is wide, unpredictable, even dangerous. But the ocean never steals his freedom. His suffering begins only when his own fishing net wraps around his feet. Suddenly, every attempt to move pulls the knot tighter. Life is rarely the net. Your attachment is. Therefore, the struggle is not but against the grip you refuse to loosen. What invisible net has quietly followed you for years without your noticing? Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine every worry as a rope wrapped gently around your chest. Do not rush to cut it. Do not fight it. Simply notice something surprising. Your own hands have been holding the ends all along. The moment you see this clearly, a quiet space appears between you and your fear. Trust begins inside that space because awareness is stronger than control. Ask yourself with complete honesty, what thought have I mistaken for reality? What have I been holding that is actually holding me? If I loosen my grip today, what would I fear most? Sit with these questions quietly, because the next teaching will reveal why letting go does not make you weaker. It allows life to respond to you in an entirely different way. 2. Fear wearing love. Can love exist without possession? Or have we quietly confused the two for our entire lives? This question reaches deeper than romance, because it touches every relationship you hold close. Many people believe attachment is proof of love, but the mind often disguises fear as devotion. It whispers, "I need you near me so I can feel safe." Therefore, what feels like love can slowly become a search for emotional comfort instead of genuine connection. The answer may unsettle you, but it can also free your heart. True love never begins with ownership. Attachment keeps asking, "What if I lose this?" Therefore, every beautiful moment becomes shadowed by anxiety before it has even passed. Love asks a quieter question, "How deeply can I appreciate this while it is here?" One heart clings because it fears emptiness. The other remains open because it has discovered peace within itself. This single difference transforms every conversation, every goodbye, and every reunion. What is forced eventually breaks. What is free naturally returns. Imagine a bird resting on the branch of an old tree as evening settles across the sky. No one taught it to sing by building a stronger cage. Its song rises because the sky is open. Freedom does not weaken love. Freedom gives love room to breathe. Therefore, the people who feel safest beside you are often those who never feel trapped by your expectations. Ask yourself honestly, have I been protecting love or protecting my fear of being alone? Now close your eyes for a quiet moment. Picture someone you deeply love. See their face without imagining who they should become. Gently remove every expectation, every demand, every silent condition you have placed upon them. Leave only gratitude that this soul has crossed your path, even for a season. Notice how your breathing softens. Notice how your heart becomes lighter. Trust quietly enters where control finally leaves. Ask yourself with complete honesty, do I truly love people or do I mostly fear losing them? How much of my affection has become an attempt to control what cannot be controlled? What would love look like if ownership disappeared completely? Hold these questions gently because the next teaching will reveal why trusting yourself changes not only your relationships, but the way life itself begins responding to you. 3. The hunger that never ends. Why does peace disappear only moments after you finally receive what you once believed would change everything? You wait for the promotion, the relationship, the recognition, or the perfect opportunity. For a brief moment your heart feels full, but that feeling quietly fades. Therefore the mind immediately begins searching for the next destination. This is the hidden cycle few people notice. The problem was never that life failed to satisfy you. The problem is that attachment trains the mind to believe peace always exists somewhere else. Stay with this realization because it reveals one of the deepest causes of invisible suffering. A mind shaped by attachment never truly rests. One achievement simply becomes another mountain to climb. One fear quietly changes its face. One desire disappears, therefore another takes its place before gratitude has time to bloom. This endless movement creates exhaustion that no success can cure. A thirsty mind drinks oceans without tasting water. The more it receives, the more it believes something is still missing. Have you ever noticed how quickly yesterday's dream becomes today's ordinary expectation? Imagine trying to fill a basket woven from smoke. No matter how much water you pour into it, nothing remains. You do not blame the water. The basket itself cannot hold it. Attachment works the same way. No possession, no person, no achievement can satisfy a mind that has learned to leak contentment. Therefore, lasting peace cannot be collected from the outside. It quietly grows within a heart that no longer depends on constant acquisition. What if the emptiness you keep chasing away is actually asking to be understood? Now bring your attention to your breathing. Feel one slow inhale enter your body. Before the breath has completely left you, notice how the mind is already preparing for the next one. Craving appears even inside something as natural as breathing. Do not judge it. Simply witness it with gentle awareness. The moment you observe psychological hunger without obeying it, its grip begins to loosen. Ask yourself honestly, what goal do I secretly believe will finally complete me? Have my greatest victories brought lasting peace or only temporary relief? What hunger keeps returning no matter how much I feed it? Sit quietly with these questions because the next teaching will reveal why true freedom begins the moment you stop negotiating with endless desire. The prison called control. Why does the harder you try to control life, the less alive you begin to feel? At first, control appears wise. It promises certainty, protection, and the comfort of knowing what comes next. But life has never made such a promise. Therefore, every attempt to force tomorrow quietly steals the peace available today. The mind believes it is creating safety, yet it is often creating resistance. Stay with this thought, because one small shift in understanding can transform the way you meet every uncertain moment. There is a quiet difference between preparation and control. Preparation comes from clarity. It does what it can, therefore it rests. Control comes from fear. It cannot stop thinking, cannot stop predicting, cannot stop tightening its grip around outcomes that have not even arrived. Fear often disguises itself as wisdom, whispering that if you worry enough, you will suffer less later. But worry has never changed tomorrow. It has only borrowed strength from today. Ask yourself gently how much of your exhaustion comes from life itself, and how much comes from fighting what has not happened. Imagine a river flowing toward the ocean. It never argues with the shape of its banks. It never demands that every stone move aside before it continues. It simply flows, adapting with quiet confidence until it reaches its destination. Life bends for the relaxed hand, not the clenched fist. Therefore, trusting the path is not weakness. It is the wisdom of moving with reality instead of resisting it. What if your greatest progress begins the moment you stop wrestling with every current? Now picture a handful of dry sand resting in your palm. Close your fist tightly around it. Feel how the pressure forces the grains to slip away. Slowly open your hand. Notice what remains without struggle. Trust grows in the open hand because peace never enters a heart that is always bracing for loss. Ask yourself honestly, what outcome am I trying to force? What fear keeps my fist closed? What would happen if I trusted this moment instead? Hold these questions quietly, because the next teaching will reveal why life often responds differently the moment you stop demanding that it obey your plans. 5. The witness within. Who is watching your thoughts? If you truly are your thoughts, sit with this question before searching for an answer. Every day, thousands of voices move through your mind. Some encourage you, others criticize you. Some create hope, while others predict failure before life has even unfolded. They arrive without invitation. Therefore, many people spend their lives believing every thought deserves to be believed. But here is the quiet turning point. You are not every voice inside your mind. This realization is where genuine freedom begins. Thoughts rise like morning mist. They change with every conversation, every memory, every emotion, every passing hour. One moment you feel confident, the next, uncertainty appears. If your identity changes with every thought, how could you ever trust yourself? But there is something within you that has remained unchanged through every season of your life. Thoughts appear, thoughts disappear, awareness remains, clouds move, the sky never does. Therefore, self-trust is not built by controlling your mind. It grows when you recognize the silent presence that has always been watching without fear. Imagine a mountain standing quietly through countless years. Rain falls upon it. Winds strike its cliffs. Snow covers its peaks. Therefore, sunlight returns and melts it away. The weather changes endlessly, but the mountain never becomes the storm. Your awareness is that mountain. Your thoughts are only weather passing across it. Even your darkest moments cannot become your true nature unless you forget where you are standing. Ask yourself gently, have I been chasing every passing cloud while forgetting the sky that holds them all? Now close your eyes for a single breath. Watch one thought appear without following it. Do nothing to stop it. Do nothing to improve it. Simply observe. Soon another thought arrives. Therefore, the first quietly fades away. Notice something remarkable. The observer never changes, even when every thought does. That silent awareness has been with you through every joy and every sorrow. Ask yourself honestly, which thoughts do I obey without question? Who is quietly noticing those thoughts? What if awareness has always been enough? Hold these questions close, because the next teaching will reveal why trusting yourself becomes effortless once you stop identifying with every passing voice. 6. Trust beyond emotion. What if confidence is not believing every feeling inside you, but trusting your awareness more than fear? Most people spend their lives following emotion as though it were absolute truth. Fear appears, therefore they retreat. Anger rises, therefore they react. Doubt whispers, therefore they abandon the path before taking the next step. But emotions are visitors. They arrive with great intensity, yet they rarely remain. The question is not whether fear will appear. The question is, who will be making your decisions when it does? This is where quiet wisdom changes everything. Fear says, run before you get hurt. Awareness gently asks, what is actually happening in this moment? That single pause creates space between impulse and action. Inside that space, freedom quietly awakens. Still water reflects truth better than rushing waves. Therefore, the calmest mind often sees what the frightened mind completely overlooks. Have you noticed how many of your greatest regrets were born from reacting too quickly instead of seeing clearly? Imagine a traveler walking through a violent storm. The wind howls, rain hides the path. The traveler begins to panic, believing every direction leads to danger. But the compass in their hand never loses its direction. It continues pointing north despite the chaos around it. Awareness is your compass. Fear is only the storm. Therefore, trusting yourself does not mean trusting every emotion. It means remembering that clear seeing remains steady even when your feelings do not. What if the guidance you have been searching for has been quietly present all along? Now, bring your attention to your heartbeat. Feel its rhythm without calling it excitement or anxiety. Do not give it a story. Simply notice its presence. As you observe without judgment, something unexpected happens. The emotion begins to lose its command while awareness quietly grows stronger. Ask yourself honestly, which emotion is controlling my choices today? What changes when I stop reacting immediately? Can awareness become my first response instead of my last? Hold these questions gently, because the next teaching will reveal why life begins to respond differently when clarity replaces emotional habit. 7. The sacred release. Why does letting go feel like losing long before it feels like freedom? This is the quiet fear hidden inside every attachment. It whispers, if you release me, you will become empty. You will have nothing left to stand on. Therefore you hold tighter, even when the weight has already become painful. But attachment never tells you what arrives after release. It speaks only of loss, never of the peace waiting beyond it. Stay with this question, because what feels like an ending may be the first breath of a new beginning. Every season of life asks for a different version of you. Some relationships complete their purpose. Some dreams no longer fit the person you are becoming. Some fears remain only because you continue feeding them with yesterday's story. Yet the mind resists every ending, believing that holding on is the same as staying safe. But life moves through change, not through resistance. An open hand receives what a closed hand cannot. Therefore, the space created by letting go is never empty for long. It quietly fills with breath, silence, clarity, and a deeper kind of peace. What if your greatest blessing has been waiting for the space you refuse to create? Look at a tree standing peacefully through the changing seasons. When winter arrives, it does not cling to a single leaf. It releases each one without arguing with the season. The tree appears bare for a while, therefore many would mistake it for lifeless. But hidden beneath the stillness, new life is already preparing its return. The tree survives because it knows what the fearful mind forgets. Letting go is not the end of life. It is how life makes room for renewal. Now close your eyes and take one slow breath. With every gentle exhale, imagine releasing one unnecessary burden. No struggle, no force, only quiet release. Feel your shoulders soften. Feel your heart become lighter as your grip slowly loosens. Ask yourself honestly, what season of my life has already ended? What am I refusing to release? What new life has been waiting for the empty space I have been afraid to create? Hold these questions gently, because the final teaching will reveal why trusting yourself completely changes the way you walk through every chapter that follows. 8. When life changes back. Does life really change, or does your way of seeing finally become clear? Many people wait for the world to become gentler before allowing themselves to feel peace. They hope circumstances will improve, people will understand them, or every obstacle will disappear. But life rarely changes according to our demands. Therefore, something far more powerful begins to happen. The heart changes first. When attachment fades, your experience of life quietly transforms, even though the world continues moving as it always has. This is the turning point most people spend years searching for without realizing it. After attachment loosens its grip, conversations become lighter because you no longer carry the burden of proving yourself. Mistakes become teachers instead of lifelong enemies because your worth no longer depends on perfection. Silence becomes comforting because you are no longer running from your own mind. Relationships become freer because appreciation quietly replaces possession. The world did not suddenly become kinder. Resistance simply became quieter. Peace changes the eyes before it changes the road. Ask yourself gently, have I been waiting for life to change while refusing to change the way I meet it? Imagine standing before a beautiful sunrise hidden behind thick morning fog. For hours you believe the light has disappeared. But the sun was never absent. Only the fog prevented you from seeing what had always been there. Anxiety works the same way. It covers possibilities, kindness, and unexpected opportunities with a veil of fear. Therefore, when awareness becomes clear, life appears brighter, not because reality has changed, but because the fog has begun to lift. What blessings have been quietly waiting beyond the stories your fear has been telling you? Now remember yesterday's greatest frustration. Hold it gently in your mind without replaying the emotion attached to it. Observe it from complete stillness. Notice how different it already feels when you stop feeding it with resistance. Ask yourself honestly, what has resistance been hiding from me? What opportunities has anxiety covered from my sight? How different would today look through peaceful eyes? Hold these reflections close because one final realization remains, the quiet truth that transforms letting go into a lifelong way of living. 9. Freedom inside responsibility. Can you fully participate in life without becoming imprisoned by it? This is one of the quietest questions a person can ask because many believe freedom requires leaving everything behind. But genuine freedom asks for something much deeper. It is not escaping your family. It is loving them without clinging. It is not abandoning your work. It is working without making your identity depend upon success or failure. It is not avoiding responsibility. It is carrying responsibility without allowing it to carry you. Therefore, nothing essential changes outside. Everything changes within. The mind often confuses the roles you play with who you truly are. You say, I am my career, I am my reputation, I am the approval of others. When any of these begin to shake, your peace shakes with them. But the wiser heart remembers something different. You are the one expressing these roles, not the roles themselves. Carry the bowl. Do not become the bowl. Therefore you can serve with complete dedication while remaining inwardly free. Imagine how much lighter life becomes when your worth no longer depends on the role you happen to be playing today. Look closely at the lotus growing upon still water. Every morning it touches the water. Every evening it rests above it. Yet the water never remains upon its petals. It participates completely in its surroundings without becoming trapped by them. This is the quiet art of inner freedom. You can love deeply without possession, work sincerely without becoming consumed by achievement, give generously without secretly asking for applause. What if this has been the freedom you were searching for all along? Now picture tomorrow and every responsibility waiting for you. See each conversation, each task, each challenge. This time, gently remove the emotional weight while leaving every action exactly where it belongs. Feel the difference. The work remains, but the burden begins to dissolve. Ask yourself honestly, which role have I mistaken for my identity? What would service feel like without ego? Can I participate fully without possession? Remember this final truth. The greatest prison has no walls. It is the life you keep trying to own. The moment you trust awareness more than control, you discover that freedom was never waiting somewhere ahead. It has been quietly waiting within you all along. 10. The morning you become free. What single practice quietly dissolves attachment a little more every day? The answer is far simpler than the mind expects. Tomorrow morning, before your hand reaches for your phone, before the noise of the world enters your heart, pause. Ask yourself one honest question. What am I trying to control today? Do not rush to answer. Simply let the question rest within you. Therefore, something remarkable begins to happen. Instead of following yesterday's habits, you create space for today's awareness. That small pause is where a different life quietly begins. Now ask another question. What would awareness choose instead? Notice how different this feels. The fearful mind searches for guarantees. Awareness searches only for clarity. The fearful mind wants to win every argument, predict every outcome, and avoid every discomfort. Awareness simply meets each moment as it arrives. Therefore, the mind slowly loses its need to dominate every experience. As silence grows, unnecessary thoughts begin to fade. Eventually, the mind speaks less. Awareness speaks first. Every peaceful life is built one quiet morning at a time. Could the freedom you have been searching for begin before the rest of the world even wakes? Imagine each sunrise as an unopened letter quietly placed into your hands by existence itself. Most people never read it. They open yesterday's worries instead. They replay old conversations, old fears, old expectations. But every new morning carries an invitation to begin without those burdens. Therefore, each dawn becomes more than another day. It becomes another opportunity to loosen your grip and strengthen your trust. What if every sunrise has been patiently waiting for your full attention? Tomorrow morning, watch the first light entering your room. Take one slow breath before thinking about your responsibilities. Let that first breath belong to awareness instead of yesterday. Feel the stillness before the mind begins its familiar stories. Ask yourself with quiet sincerity, what will I release before this day begins? What would awareness choose today? What kind of person am I becoming through these small daily releases? Remember this truth as you walk forward. Freedom rarely arrives through one extraordinary moment. It is quietly built through ordinary mornings, one peaceful choice at a time. Remember the question from the very beginning. Why does life seem to respond differently after you finally let go and trust yourself? The answer was never hidden somewhere outside you. Life was never fighting against you. Your resistance was. Every moment spent demanding certainty, resisting change or clinging to control, placed another layer between your awareness and reality. Therefore, when resistance begins to soften, life does not suddenly become easier. You simply begin meeting it with eyes that are no longer clouded by fear. Notice what quietly changes. People often feel safer around you because they no longer sense the pressure of your expectations. Your decisions become clearer because they are no longer made from panic. Your relationships become lighter because appreciation replaces possession. Even ordinary moments begin to feel meaningful because your mind finally has enough space to notice what anxiety once concealed. Life did not suddenly begin helping you. You finally stopped arguing with it. Freedom begins where resistance ends. Ask yourself honestly, how many battles have existed only inside the stories your mind continued to repeat? Imagine an old mirror covered with years of dust. Every morning the sunrise shines upon it, yet no light seems to appear. The mirror never creates the sunrise. It simply reflects what has always been present once the dust is gently wiped away. Awareness is that mirror. Fear is the dust. Therefore, peace is not something you manufacture. It is something you uncover when unnecessary resistance quietly falls away. What beauty has been waiting patiently behind the thoughts you no longer need to carry? Now sit silently for 1 minute. Imagine placing every attachment beside you instead of inside you. Leave your fears, expectations, regrets, and need for control beside you, like bags set down after a long journey. Feel the difference between carrying life and simply walking with it. Notice how much lighter your heart becomes when awareness is no longer crowded. Before this day ends, ask yourself 3 quiet questions. If nothing outside changed, could I still become free? What argument with reality am I finally ready to end? What would my life feel like if trust replaced control? Carry these questions into tomorrow. Build a strong, disciplined mind through calm awareness, not constant control. The greatest transformation is not finding a different life. It is seeing this one with a freer heart. Life did not change first. You did, and that changed how life unfolded. Quick summary. The invisible rope. Attachment is not created by the world, but by the mind's constant need to hold on. The more your happiness depends on people, outcomes, or possessions, the more your peace becomes fragile. True freedom begins when you recognize that suffering often comes from your grip, not your circumstances. Awareness is the first step toward inner liberation. Fear, wearing love. Love brings peace, while attachment brings fear. Many relationships become heavy because they are built on the need to possess rather than the willingness to appreciate. When fear disappears, love becomes lighter, healthier, and more compassionate. Real love allows freedom instead of demanding control, the hunger that never ends. The attached mind always believes that the next achievement, relationship, or possession will finally bring lasting happiness. Yet every fulfilled desire quickly creates another. Peace is never found through endless chasing, but through understanding the nature of craving itself. Freedom begins when wanting no longer controls your mind. 4. The prison called control. Trying to control every outcome creates constant anxiety because life is naturally uncertain. Control may feel like protection, but it often becomes an invisible prison. The more you accept uncertainty, the calmer your mind becomes. Peace grows where resistance ends, the witness within. You are not every thought that enters your mind. Thoughts constantly change, but awareness quietly remains. Learning to observe your thoughts instead of becoming them creates emotional freedom. Self-trust begins when awareness becomes stronger than mental noise. Trust beyond emotion. Not every emotion deserves your obedience. Fear often speaks loudly, while wisdom speaks softly through awareness. Real self-trust is the ability to pause before reacting. Clear awareness leads to wiser decisions than emotional impulse. The sacred release. Letting go feels painful because the mind mistakes attachment for security. But every release creates space for peace, clarity, and growth. Freedom is not losing something valuable. It is releasing unnecessary suffering. Every ending becomes the beginning of inner peace. When life changes back. Life appears different when your mind is no longer clouded by resistance. Challenges remain, but your relationship with them transforms completely. A peaceful mind notices opportunities where fear once saw only problems. Outer life changes because inner perception changes first. Freedom inside responsibility. Buddhism does not teach escaping life, but participating without becoming emotionally trapped by it. You can love deeply, work passionately, and serve others without making them your identity. Freedom comes from changing your relationship with responsibilities, not abandoning them. Inner detachment creates greater presence. The morning you become free. Every morning is an opportunity to choose awareness instead of anxiety. Before trying to control the day, simply observe your intentions. Small daily moments of mindful release gradually reshape your inner world. Lasting transformation is built through quiet, consistent practice. The life that was waiting. Life does not suddenly become easier after letting go. Your way of experiencing it changes. As attachment fades, clarity, resilience, and peace naturally emerge. Trust allows you to respond wisely instead of reacting fearfully. The life you are searching for begins the moment you stop fighting reality. Real transformation rarely arrives with dramatic moments. It unfolds in the quiet spaces where you stop arguing with life and begin understanding it. The greatest burden you carry is not your responsibilities, your past, or the uncertainty of tomorrow. It is the constant belief that peace depends on controlling what cannot be controlled. The moment you trust your own awareness more than your fears, the mind softens, the heart opens, and life begins to reveal possibilities that anxiety could never see. In that silence, you realize that freedom was never waiting in the future. It was patiently waiting beneath every attachment you were finally willing to release. The quieter the mind becomes, the clearer the path appears. Zen philosophy reminds us that peace is not something to be achieved. It is what naturally remains when the endless struggle to hold, resist, and control comes to an end. Like a still lake reflecting the entire sky, a mind free from attachment reflects reality exactly as it is. And perhaps the greatest miracle is this: the day you stop trying to force life to unfold your way is the day life quietly begins unfolding with wisdom greater than your own. If this wisdom touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who may need these teachings today, and share your thoughts in the comment section. We'd love to hear your journey. For more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful, mindful, and awakened life,